Welcome to the What's Your Ceiling podcast. We're your hosts, Monte Wyatt and Paul Szynski. Wherever you are in life, there is a higher ceiling. This podcast is how you become aware of it and how to take action to push through it. It's time to discover your ceiling. Welcome to the What's Your Ceiling podcast, where we talk about your health, your family, your business. I'm your host, Monte Wyatt. And if you're a CEO, executive, or business owner, then this is the show for you. We call our audience the achiever because you're always striving for the next level. And I'm excited today to have an old friend on the show, a gentleman who owns a manufacturing company in Holstein, Iowa called Holstein Manufacturing. They're a leader in commercial grill manufacturing and development. He graduated from Iowa State in 1989 in animal science, also has an MBA from Iowa State, and is the second generation owner of Holstein Manufacturing. Which was started not quite 50 years ago. So that's awesome to hear. Look forward to hearing from some stories. So with that, I'd like to introduce Darrin Schmidt. Darrin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Monty.
Hey, absolutely. Look forward to hearing some things and hearing how the stories have gone since you've been back on the farm working on the business. So I love to hear that. So maybe if you would, I always like to start with a little theme to the show. And just reading some of your stuff on your website, you talk about being cutting edge in some technology and making sure that you are certified and high quality. And so I want to make sure that we use the topic of cutting edge today. So when I say the word cutting edge, what comes to mind for you?
Cutting edge for us is we've improved since we first began, obviously, and we have three laser cutting tables that cut our all metals that we have to the highest definition of whether it's hole size or degree angle or even smoothness. And the other part of that cutting edge would be that when you serve off of any kind of restaurant or catering food equipment, and you're in the specification for the whether it's USDA on making meats or serving for the local health department, they got to serve off of stainless steel. So that's kind of our focus is all the stainless steel cooking grates, and then most of the models that meet the NSF approval, which is what I'm talking about, they have to be made out of stainless steel. And I also got a UL approval on our towable grills about 3 years ago. So nobody in the nation has that specification, whether it's UL or NSF, both. And then so our smokers and corn roasters, I had the UL inspector here this morning. They show up unannounced, and I pay my quarterly fee of not nearly $900 every time he shows up now for that UL inspection. So that's kind of what cutting edge is to us. We refined, meeting the specifications, meaning if it has that label on it, then obviously it has to be the best you can buy for that, what you're looking for.
Wonderful. Well, I love to hear that, and I appreciate you giving your perspective on cutting edge. And when I think of cutting edge, it's being proactive. It's being unique in the marketplace and trying things that nobody else is trying or doing things that nobody else is doing, so you can stay out in front. So I appreciate your insight as well, and I want to challenge our audience, the achiever, to really think about how they are being cutting edge in their industry and in their business. So. Well, Darrin, I'd love to hear you share a little history lesson with us. Maybe tell us your story and how you got into Holstein Manufacturing and what'd you do along the way.
Well, the other thing I was going to expand about your cutting edge is we're just a little business of depending on the season, 12 to 16 employees, and we make those towable grilling equipment, smokers and hog roasters and corn roasters. And it's just niche enough that we can be busy nearly all year long, but big companies don't come in and take over because they would never have enough business from that perspective. So that's kind of my cutting edge deployment. But back in 1976, we were having a fundraiser when things were a lot cheaper and money was hard to raise for a dance hall in Holstein. And my dad and another guy, they had a hog roast, and they were going to promote pork and save the hog industry by making these grills. And he went to the World Pork Congress in Indianapolis and sold some to Eli Lilly Elanco, as some of our friends have taken a lot of jobs with, and Smith Klein Beecham. And that was part of the co-op system, or one of the main sponsors of the co-op system at the time with their swine drugs. And we sold like 7 of them and didn't have a place to make them. So we just started making them at the local welding Smith's shop. Within the year, we bought a building. And within a year after that, we made a building on our farm 5 miles north of Holstein. And we just, if things didn't go well, we had a large tractor storage building and even more dry storage for corn. And that was kind of my dad's thoughts. So, and at the time we didn't have any internet, websites, Facebook, any of that. And we just went to trade shows. So we went to a lot of trade shows in Las Vegas and Chicago and Florida. And as a kid, that's what I did and helped. And I tell people in 2000 went to as many as 20 trade shows, and I just finished up the only trade show I'm going to go to this year, and that's strictly because of the internet and the websites we have.
Oh, sure. Oh, wow. That's changed a lot. Well, that's good. I appreciate that history lesson. And you bought your second generation, you bought into the business at what point?
I bought it in the end of 2014, so we'll be finishing up our 10th year under my wife and I purchased it, and we changed the corporate tax name is Holstein Fabrication, and we kind of use that to highlight some of our laser cutting and trailer business, and and then we do business as a Holstein Manufacturing on the business, which is our grills and food equipment, and what's had the most longevity of advertising.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about how you find your clients. You talked about your websites and not going to trade shows anymore. So how do you get most of your leads for your equipment that you sell?
Well, going back to the trade shows, I was always one that I'd walk the floor everywhere. I just like snooping at what everybody else is doing, and you're getting international clients and people from California and Florida and New York that maybe at the time might have had a little heads up on you on new things coming from whether it was Europe or Asia or Silicon Valley. And so I ran into the first guy that I'd seen had a website. Obviously the military had developed the internet and those kinds of things, and nobody in the Midwest knew what a website was. So I had to take my own money and kind of get it started. And the big thing then was payment of keywords, where you're paying a nickel to be on the front page with barbecue grill or corn roaster or hog roaster or laser cutting or whatever we wanted to sell that time. And they were cheap. Once we got up to 45 cents, we thought that was high. But if you go on the website today and you type in corn roaster, for instance, we're number one. There's certain things that don't have near as much competition, but it's, now they got Google algorithms that you just can't pay to be number one. You got to pay and somebody's got to hit it. And some of our, we've been on Amazon, and that worked for a little while. And then after that, we didn't really get any sales from it, but our main internet partner, we've been doing selling our grills through a company called Webstaurant. So it's kind of stands for web restaurant. And they when I met them 3 years ago, they contacted us to be a partner with them. I think 6 years prior to that, they were doing like 500 million, and to my knowledge, last year they did 6 billion.
Holy
And
cow.
so if you type in Holstein Manufacturing Grills, Webstaurant's going to come up before I do. I'm like second now. So, I mean, it's just that's how many people are commanding their website presence.
Yep.
And, so it's a good thing to have. And so we're looking for those types of things. And that's, we've been working for a year on my new website. The hardest thing is buying it, being able to type in and buy whatever we make with a click of the mouse pad. And for the most part, it works. We're down to finalize an accurate freight everywhere in the country.
Wow. So do you ship most of them or they get delivered by
I would
truck?
say 65% ship or get delivered, or more than that, probably 75%. So, oh, I put loads together of bigger stuff. The smaller stuff ships LTL, and
Yep.
we've shrunk some of our real sizes that maybe down a foot to handle a pallet. And so now it's more about convenience of shipping on certain models that could be a little smaller and is not a problem. The big ones we still pull one at a time or three at a time on a trailer kind of thing, and that works out too. So it's kind of the reason for these tilt trailers we made, 3.5 years ago. That we wanted to be able to deliver our grills with one guy in our pickup and a winch to let them down to the ground and safely do it. It just trucking non-damage is an issue, and that's our problem.
Yep. Well, very good. Well, as I mentioned, our audience is the achiever, and I'd love to have you tell a story of a success that you're proud of that you've accomplished within Holstein Manufacturing, something that you're proud of, and then share a little bit of how you made that happen.
Well, I'm proud of some of the locally okay, we started making a door edge guard in VT Industries, and just one of the guys was getting them made on the East Coast, and we'd come and bend and straighten them. And I said, "Why don't you let us give a shot at that?" And my dad got hurt in a farm accident in '06, and we didn't have anything really for equipment. We were kind of at that point as keep going or whatever. At that point, we bought a plasma table, and then 2 years later, I bought a laser table, putting us in the game that we were cutting metal with the same equipment somebody else was. And so that I always say it kind of took us from horses to tractors a little bit, so that we put us in the same game. So now we have 3 laser tables, and we're able to solicit outside source people wanting to do other people to cut their parts. So I just got a big order with somebody fairly local, and so the last 10-15 years we've been able to do a lot more that we couldn't before, and that's kind of the biggest success is build it and they will come kind of thing. Is if we have the right equipment that other people want us to use and want our services, we have it. That's what I'm most proud of, is we just keep plugging along with some of the most up-to-date equipment. I don't buy new, kind of the old 3 to 8 year old type of stuff, depending on price. And because it's not changed, it's just more affordable to that person. And we have a great crew of people that hardworking. Everybody works more than 40 hours here, so it's kind of the gift working here is you're going to make money, and we want as few as people working, and so that everybody can have a good living.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
everybody's willing to do the maintenance and things that are just way too costly today for what you get, in my opinion.
You bet. Well, that was a big risk getting those laser cutting machines, I bet.
That the monetary value of those is worth 3 times of what everything else in this shop was before I bought it. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. And big risk. We knew we had some business for it, and that's my job, is to go out and cultivate more.
Yep. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I love to hear that risk that you took and how you pushed through and you wanted to be competitive, so you got some new equipment. I love that. I love that. How about any other big risks that you've taken throughout the years that you had to break through something to get to that result? What was a big risk that you have taken?
Well, buying the business on a shoestring, we won. The big thing my father and I were farm partners, but we had a lot of hogs, and I was always kind of the hog champion, and that we just couldn't make money year round at it, and that was a big problem. And so my equity was kind of in the wrong spot, and my like I said, my father suddenly got hurt, so then I was kind of my sister and I were managing it for him for 8 to 9 years, and to that point, somebody had to buy it, and so it took a major risk on just holding it together. Being town of 1500 is Holstein, great town. We have one of the largest countertop and door manufacturer in the country is based in Holstein, and they're kind of the bellwether to hold these towns of 1500 above what some of them have now dwindled from 4 to 700. So at that point, it became a not about me, but more about the community, and I felt that we were good at it, and it was something I always wanted to do it. And in that point,
I love that you just said you're doing it for the community and making sure that, Holstein stays relevant. And I think that's good. You have a lot of local folks that work for you, and is it hard to find employees?
well, everybody's within 15 to 20 miles that live here or have at one point. Some might have bought a house in a neighboring town and drive 30 miles, but most of them all local. The other thing we try and do is, always have 1 to 5 high school kids, some as young as freshmen and up to seniors working here. And I've got 3 full-timers that we've cultivated out of that. And we just do a lot better job of, for us, the main focus is those that want to work here, want to stay here, stay in the community, I'm saying.
Yep.
And we kind of know what we got when we've trained them in high school, and they're willing to learn at that point. And we paint, we sandblast, we weld, we have guys that have high IQs on computers that draw and cut and have to fix this stuff. And so that's, I guess our biggest definition is we are fabricators of metal. We aren't line manufacturers, but we fabricate stuff, and sometimes it's onesies, but sometimes we kind of got a pattern for a lot of things, and it just small twists and nuances to keep our customers relevant and develop what they want.
You bet. Oh, that's fantastic. How would you say yourself or the business is different than it was, say, 2, 3 years ago?
Well, every year has been better than the last year. This year it might be like 1/4% under, so I'm close. But that's been my biggest goal is to continue to expand. Whether it's the easiest way to track that is dollar volume, but customer base and things like that. Every time I sell a barbecue grill, that's kind of only a onesie to that person, or they might buy 3 over their lifetime if they're in the business of using. We've had quite a few calls of old customer type stuff this last month, but I'm not like a packing plant. We're always selling pork loins to the same grocery store chain or whatever. And that's the biggest challenge we have. So that's comes with the marketing. And my daughter is a business major at Iowa State in marketing, and she's a senior, and she worked for me this year, and then she had a marketing internship with a company close by this past year. And that's what I've kind of used for her as my sounding board or person to facilitate uh, our Facebook marketing. We're taking pictures of our stuff 3 times a week if we have it going out to show people that what we're sending out. And it's amazing the response we've gotten, that people at the fair I was at that told me they follow our website and knew what I was shipping out the past 2 weeks. And it might be a small number. We're close to 1,000, 1,200. That's kind of a big number if you're in the business. And we get 13,000 hits on a website every month. It's always 13,000, 14,000.
Huh.
if you got that many hits, you'd think you'd be selling more, but you'd be rich if you had all the tenth of that hits, so you're out there, you don't realize it, and I'm proud of that. I've always said we make our own job. Uh, you know, we're the ones pushing it, coming up with ideas, trying to help somebody realize a goal, and our goal is to get somebody that needs something made out of steel that'll work for them. Most of the time, it's cooking stuff or components to put stuff together. And we've made components to put concrete pavers together, augers, boat trailers. We've had anything with metal that needs to be done. We've kind of done it.
I love it. I want to reinforce one thing you just shared, and to our audience, you said we make our own job, and I think that's a fantastic way to look at it. Is we control our efforts, we control what we do for marketing, we control our activity, and if we want to do more, we got to put more activity into it. And I think that's a great way to put it. We make our own job, so I love that.
Well, sometimes, that I always say Thanksgiving to Christmas, it's hard to create anything, but you're always laying the groundwork and you make sure you can plan for the next year. And that's the main thing of, knowing what you've done in years past. It's pretty much clockwork at that point. So don't be forsaken. It'll come, but, and just like you said, we make our own job, and I always say, build it and they will come. If you have good staff and good equipment, and show that what you have the ability to do. Because I just believe in the Middle West that people are the hardest working people there are, and the most honest, and they're easy to deal with, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So is your daughter going to come back and work for you?
Well, I want her to work close by so I can pick her brain, so I don't have to give her all the 100% of my wages. But she's like I said, we only have my wife and I have one daughter. We've been married the whole time, so I'm not don't have a other family to take care of that way. But she's a hard worker, and that's what I'm always looking for, somebody that's has a little more time on the marketing than maybe I've done. And
Yep.
you got to have somebody to push you a little bit. And like she was tell me what we could do with this podcast, and I'm like, well, that's a great idea. So that's what we're looking for.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I don't think my daughter will be coming, or I've got three daughters and none of them are interested in my business. So I don't think I have that problem.
Are they interested? Are any of them interested in the hard work of healthcare?
No, they're not interested in healthcare either.
Well, that's one thing. My daughter's I don't want to say it. I'm not going to call her lazy, but I'm going to call her. She wouldn't want to have that responsibility, that I have some people on. For those people that are in healthcare, I give them a lot of credit because I wouldn't have that interest and responsibility either.
Yep, I agree with that. I agree with that. Well, how do you manage personal life and the business life? How do you separate the two?
Well, that one good thing. So when my wife and I dated for a significantly long time, to her for like 7 years, and then we got married. And when we took this, the deal was we weren't going to work in the same office. So she pays all the bills. That's her job. I get the opportunity to tell her when to send the checks. And then my secretary, I'm a great secretary. She's takes all the orders and manages the billing of what we sell. So one person's in charge of selling, billing, and the other person's in charge of selling everything, or excuse me, paying the bills of what we purchased. Doesn't get crossed up. Um, so that way, my wife and I can have a fresh start for the most part every night, So I only take about 2 or 3 calls from her a day on that. So I know that it's important when she calls. So growing up in a family that started this, there's always hard knocks, and sometimes um, things aren't quite as clean as they should be when to walk away from the business at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, what's your favorite product to sell?
Well, two things. I love having big orders come in for that laser, so I know we're tied up for a while. And the other thing is I love selling our big smokers. We got this model 600 is I like that, and our corn roasters because they're a dollar amount. We don't have very much competition. We're good at it, and they look like $1,000,000 when we're done. And some of the competitors, for the most part, are, you know, 10 to 20% higher than we are. I'm like, you're getting so much more bang for the buck. It's just easy to sell that way. And I am very happy with our margin at that point. And some of those, been around 20 years, 25 years, we get every year, you get a few more that need calling to get fixed or this or that. But when you're welding stainless steel, like going back to that NSF, so those Model 600 smokers of ours, that big turkey leg cookers and pork loin cookers and rib cook-off cookers, and my corn roasters that do 600 years an hour,
Wow.
that are at every, I can name, at one time I had 17 state fairs I know they cook at. And so that kind of stuff is welded on the inside, insulated, and uh, riveted together on the outside. I've only seen like one or two we junked because it'd been taken care of so bad, for instance. Most time that's because it's on the coast from ocean air and that kind of stuff. So,
Yep.
but um, so those are those niche products I talk about that we sell like 10 to 20 a year of both models that we're not getting flooded with overproduction, for
Yep.
instance. So it isn't about, not only is it about making money every week, every month, but it's also fostering for the next year too. And like I said, if I hired 100 people and we made it all in 1 year, I wouldn't have a job for the next year. So
Right. Right. I love it. I love it. Well, how do you determine where you put your energy and time each day? How do you stay focused and prioritize your time?
well, that's a really good question because I get up about, now it's getting winter. I'll probably have to get out here about 5:30. And I've been getting here about 6:15 to 6:30 because everything goes pretty good. So we make our own going back to that, we make our own burner to burn sawdust from this wood door plant 4 miles away. So we made our own boiler. So I'm proud of that. I mean, we just went and looked at things and made our own. We're gonna make another one for another building. But going back to prioritizing time, I usually have one or two things I want to get accomplished before 8 o'clock. And after that, I don't think I ever follow true to form after that. Too many phone calls, people show up like that UL guy. We were going to get the last of what was at the Clay County Fairs where we were at that trade show for 10 days. And, sometimes you just got to walk away and get the rest accomplished. But usually I have two or three things I want to get accomplished every morning. And after that, we'll see what happens.
Then the world starts occurring and people show
And the
up and
phone,
work
then
for
everybody wakes up and the phone rings.
you. That's always good when the phone rings, though.
Oh yeah, we're happy for that. The other happy thing is I finally went voice over IP so that the phone rings, the business phone rings to my cell phone on the fourth ring.
Yep.
So I'm taking calls from California and Japan when we talking to the military over there at 8 o'clock at night. And I like it. I don't want to miss out, and I don't have to go finding friends at the bar or country club in that aspect. I'm plenty busy, and I'm wore out when I go home and go to bed at that point. But
I bet you are.
yeah,
Now, how were you affected by COVID and getting supplier material, things like that? Did that affect you very much?
well, it changed the way we do things. Um, COVID, we couldn't get a lot of things from a lot of people in the US. And so we just started doing a lot of research, and a lot of our suppliers are getting them from overseas anyway. So we were able to go direct with a lot of those bypass, and sometimes two or three people in the middle that were making some of our products way too expensive. And so we just kind of opened our eyes, and I tried to get motors from 3 different suppliers for 2 years, and they couldn't come up with nothing. And then we kind of put it out on the search list, and started getting people calling you that they want your business, and went pretty quick. I've American company that we get our pilot lights from and gas valves was in Chicago. Now it's assembled in Mexico. It used to be, I don't know, 10 days to 4 weeks out. Now I get these things of 44 weeks out. And I don't know if they're ever going to make them, and we sourced them, very similar product. I think nearly clone product, 90 days out. And then I could get some shipped to me within 30 days. So some people, in my opinion, haven't done a very good job of adapting to COVID or maintaining their customers, and their customers either had to quit or find a way around them.
Yep.
And
I bet that saved you a ton of money going direct to overseas.
oh yeah, and I'm in year 2.25 of that. It's a lot of it was a lot of cash outlay to begin with, and now we're finally reaping that reward. We're catching up to that, if you will. Everything needed to turn over once, and by next spring, everything will have turned over about once, and then we're able to reap those benefits after that. So it's been kind of, I never had to buy that much before. We always just kind of hand them out, but we weren't realizing the margins we could either.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
Well, that was so going back to that, kind of myself and a few, I kept, I like what you're doing. You always pick up something when you listen to somebody. So if you can only charge so much, all right. So how are you going to increase your margin? You got to buy low, sell high. So that's kind of where we're found the best margin we could get started at. Obviously your wage rates are kind of competitive, and you got to decide what you're willing to pay the good guys, and then go from there. And then so the best way to increase margin was getting a better deal on same product.
Yep. Oh, that's great. You gotta stay competitive, that's for sure. Good. Well, what's a ceiling that you're working to break through right now? What's a challenge that you're working to overcome?
Oh, I'm working to get all my products UL approved. That's one. I'm trying to get my website more user friendly, like some other places that I go to purchase. So it just, in the end, I mean, some of this, I'm kind of old. I'm 57, and so I grew up when the phone was the only thing you used to receive an order, and everybody wants to order it on the internet. So it's taken us a year to get 95% done. And I know at the point where that'll always be the constant improvement, is that non-communicative computer that I need somebody like Monty to buy from, and that's be the hardest part.
Yep.
So I need those young kids that they grew up like that to kind of finish that off for us. And I've got people that work here that are excellent at it. Like I said, my daughter in her education will find others with the same attitudes and talents. And that's what my biggest overcome is probably being able to sell more that's under my nose a little bit than I realize.
And that's doing a little different marketing than you've ever done before.
Correct.
Yep.
Continue to branch out on that. Not paying everybody else to do it. There's all these guys who want to call you and, hey, we'll do this for you, we'll do that for you. And a lot of this organic posting, you go on Facebook, and once you get started, we've been posting organically for a couple of years. Well, there's a ton of pictures, and best thing you can do is post them, because they're always going to be on the website if somebody types in what you're looking for.
Yep.
Or on the internet, excuse me.
I love it. I love it. Well, anything else that you're working on that you have to grow personally? When I think of What's Your Ceiling, we talk about growing and changing. What's an area that you need to grow in right now?
I'm sure if I got brought everybody in, they tell me every one of them have a different thing I need to grow in, but I've always tried to give as much latitude to the group doing their job, and the other thing I appreciate is almost everybody asks me what's going, when things aren't going quite right, or that point. But I'm proud of our people, so I don't know what I need to grow in other than probably, I don't know, be a little more prepared for the future. And I'm always kind of one of those, whether it's, I'm not going to call it estate planning, but I'm going to call it long, uh, making sure Holstein and Iowa and the United States as a business that's doing what we do. A lot of the competitors that were my dad's age have moved on to, other things that happen when you're 80 or 85 or 90, and their business wasn't picked up by the next generation. So um, that's one thing I'm kind of looking for. And the grills is great and stuff, but for us to keep the same amount of talent, we have to do, like I said, laser cutting and metal fabrication for others. And and our challenges is, I'll use an example. We're in Western Iowa. John Deere's in Eastern Iowa. They unionized things that go that way, and now all of a sudden they overproduced and they're laying people off. And they're going to Mexico. Well, what good does that do for Iowa or Midwest agriculture? Bringing something up from Mexico that, in my opinion, will have challenges of quality control.
Yep.
It doesn't do any. So my dad was more like, we farmed. This is more profitable than the farming was, but it was a challenge to him more than anything. And with keeping his nose to the grindstone, we were able to do things that way. And I think a lot of people have a duty to themselves or their community to keep jobs here.
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest. I don't think everybody business owner understands that.
Well,
And
I want to reinforce that because I think that's a powerful thing to say, and I love to hear that that's a focus of yours is one of your duties is to keep the jobs here, and whether it's to save our communities, to keep our sustainable for the future, our communities are sustainable, and making sure that the jobs stay here, and we all should be thinking about that because that's the future of work, that's the future of business, and we got to keep people working. And I love to hear that you're focused on that.
well, I'll use an example. So we've got a few schools that have kind of doubled down on the industrial arts stuff. We made a big school improvement, $12 million for supposed to be industrial arts and a gym. Well, they're more worried about the gym. And in my opinion, if they had the right guy in that industrial arts program or FFA or teaching, I'm kind of we've gone over it numerous times and I'm gonna hammer out some more. If they had everybody learning how to draw AutoCAD and run a laser, that person could go run every optics machine at hospital because they know how to run their phone so well. Everything's off of that, and now you got jobs here, and we don't need to bring people illegally in here to hold these jobs. We got to teach the ones we have here to have those jobs. If we need more people, then we properly make them citizens. But you know, like I said, most of my job is to give the best product to the customers what they want. And I also want to have people here that want to be here and stay here. And when you get people rolling through and hiring, turning over 25 to 30%, like some businesses do, that's kind of hard to do too.
So I'm glad you brought that up. Do you do anything special to keep your people? Retention can be a challenge sometimes. Is there anything that you do unique that keeps your team?
Well, I'm on a level playing field with everybody because some small businesses don't have the ability to do it all the time. So now we got everybody's got insurance and simple IRA and bonus at the end of the year. So we're always trying, we cook something different we do is we cook every Thursday. I grill every Thursday. It started with, we had a bunch of 4-H pigs that were pork burgers to grill off, but I got tired of not being clean. So that's kind of the day we make sure it's clean. Sometimes we don't get as clean as we should on Thursday, but everybody does their part. So we grill hamburgers and a couple salads every noon on Thursday, and we've been doing at least 5 years.
That's great.
And I, if I'm not here, we get pizza, but uh, just small stuff. And some people might not appreciate it like they should. A lot of people, most everybody does, I think, because when they go, if they went somewhere else, they would realize you don't get that
Yep.
there. And that's one of the, I like doing that, a little camaraderie at that point. And I make grills, so I kind of like doing it. And I'm pretty darn good at pork chops, they tell me. So we do pork chops go on sale about every third week at our grocery store, and pork chops and hamburgers is usually our food of choice.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is a great benefit. I loved it. Love to hear that.
Yes.
I want to summarize a couple things that I've taken away from you that I think are pretty powerful that I want our audience to hear. Again, I want to reinforce we make our own job. We make our own success. We make our own future. So keep that in mind. And you also said build it and they will come. So it's a good focus of yours. We build the grills. We build the corn roasters. They're going to come. You talk about branching out and getting more done with marketing. You got to take risks in your marketing and try new things and be up to date because that's where your audience is looking. And I love to hear that you're doing that. I do appreciate you said coming into the office early and getting your 2 to 3 things done before the phone rings and before everybody shows up to work because that's when you get things done when nobody's around. And so I want to encourage if you don't do that and you're not getting everything done, uh, the achiever, you need to come in a little bit early and get things done because that's what works. That's what gets the ball rolling in the morning. And the last thing I'll share that I think is very important. It's our duty as a business owner to make sure the jobs stay here. How are we keeping our employees? How are we growing our employees, continuing to get bigger so we keep the jobs? And so those are just a few points that I took away and I thought were very powerful. So I appreciate you sharing those. There's always one question I love to ask at the end, and it's what do you want to be known for? So tell us what you want to be known for.
I would always like to personally be known for uh person you could trust and would always want, the hard work of the person you could trust. If you needed something at midnight, you give them a call.
Yep.
And I got you and I are friends, and I don't think either one of us has changed very much since we first met. And I appreciate that. I love being around people. You know what you get.
Yep.
And we ran into each other at the football game the other day, and like I said, I don't think either one of us has changed a lick. And I appreciate that more than anything about people that you can trust them or give them a call or can you help us out? And I like that.
Absolutely. Good. I love to hear that you know what you get, and it's trust and hard work is a big thing. I appreciate that. Well, how can our audience get a hold of you and find your wonderful products?
Well, our company's my main website's holsteinmfg.com. And we've got you can surf there whether you're buying stuff or we got a gallery of pictures and stuff. And like I said, we laser cut parts, we make signs. We've done just about everything. Sometimes they don't promote the signs like I should, but there'll be pictures on it. And I my phone number is 712-368-4342. We're in Holstein, Iowa. So if you type in Holstein MFG or corn roast or barbecue grills or those kind of things will always pop up. And we're like I said, in western Iowa, 4 miles north of Holstein on US 59.
Wonderful. Darrin, I really appreciate your insights, telling your story and showing the world what it's like being a small business owner. And I love the decisions that you've made of, you know, outsourcing and getting your equipment elsewhere and keeping your employees. So I really appreciate you sharing those stories. So anything else you want to share to close us out to share with our audience?
Well, I appreciate you having me. I mean, next time we can include some video. I have a conference call about every quarter with my Facebook people so that so I don't have many Zoom meetings like you may have. But I these are things that I think are more than relevant and in how our world is today. And I appreciate it and would like to do more of it.
You bet. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us. And I want to thank our audience, The Achiever, for listening as well. And make sure you like us, make sure you subscribe, and keep promoting the website and of What You're Sealing, and get people to continue to watch the show just like you. So the more we grow, the more the business can grow. So thanks everyone for listening today, and keep up the great work. Thanks everyone.